So it looks like we have...
This is okay. So
Yeah.
it's fighting Pink. I'm gonna go look at Pink's team real quick because I know how I feel about Ashley's. That's not the thing you were supposed to copy paste, Google, you silly goose,
Yeah, that
you.
happens. All right, let me...
Yeah. So the first big thing I noticed is that it's a tri-type team. Pink has one attack for every single type on their team. It's very interesting. We have the Varkabond here playing a more supportive role for folks being with the treat. We've got a Tortanker with Shanty over Captain. A very big emphasis on support moves here. Not a single volley in sight. Ashley only has one volley starting off the turn here immediately as I'm looking at the team.
Yeah, this is a really interesting actually matchup, I think, because we definitely see some commonalities between the two. Obviously, Tortanker and Fruit Folks on both teams, but also just some good some good spirit attacks on both sides.
Yeah, we have the overly mono type team versus the tri type team. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, and anybody at home, if you see that dump on Ashley's Tortanker, yeah, I know that's a mind move, but it's not really meant to do damage as much as it is to just threaten the front row. And so, that doesn't really count against it being a spirit attacking team. I mean, you can really tell that it's really heavily into spirit attack just because of the Faith volley. And we do see that Stinky actually coming out, which is a nice tech defensive move on... I want to say Apostle because that's what I've been saying for so long. I've been trying to update my pronunciations on some of the beasties, and there's certain ones like Opposer. I think that's how you're supposed to pronounce it. I really have to get used to that. So Opposer with that stinky defensive move, being able to be pretty valuable here just to make sure that the Skiffrid can't attack back. Oh,
it's a very good... Oh, the Patience coming out the challenge here. Skiffrig is going to be a dead beastie on this field, essentially. This is a very difficult field, I think, for Ashley to play here. Given that the boom's about to come out. There's a lot that could go into this.
Yeah, this is
really,
actually
I wouldn't...
kind of an awkward situation.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, I don't know if there's a great way to deal with Patience except for Provoke, but now Ashley's Provoker has to leave the field.
This is true. It's not the best of worlds for right now. Ashley's sort of forced into changing out that beastie, taking the Mullipede onto the field with a poster on standby. There's sort of already big field dominance on this field for Pink here. Skiffrig being sat very comfortably in the front with Tortanker able to play defense if things go wrong. Here we see kind of Ashley's big strength. She's very careful, thinks things through very carefully, obviously. Yeah. Raw Fury on the Tortanker here. Low enough, cannot take another hit.
Yeah, that was what do you think it was actually Raw Fury there instead of Challenge? I'm kind of curious.
I think Ashley was worried about the bird moving up to take the challenge, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's true. If we saw the stack there, that could have been
the Provoke coming out. The Provoke comes out, but because of that, they can't full power dump, and I think that's what more Ashley was trying to avoid anyway.
Yeah. Although I believe this Demolipede has pretty high mine defense actually, so dump isn't
pretty high mine defense, bad. Pretty solid. All 30 points invested into Spirit. No wonder Demolipede's staying alive so long.
Yeah. Well, and I do think there's some good news from Ashley here. This Patience Tortanker has been really annoying from Pink's side, but now it's low enough that it'd be pretty risky to leave it in. So pretty soon we're gonna see these scaling boosts start to stack up, I think.
More than likely.
Obviously,
It's
there's still the chance of a stack up.
If Patience ever gets off the field, it's going to be a very dangerous spot for Pink. And speak of the devil and it shall appear, it doesn't look as though Treat did anything because it's switched in on a fully healthy Beastie. This is an interesting sort of
Yeah.
dilemma to find yourself in. 1 second, please.
Yeah, you're good. But so we do see normally the downside of challenge is you're giving a boost to whatever you're hit, but it actually turns out this Fruit Folks has a bit of a different set than normal. Because we actually see flight on the Fruit Folks. So it can't actually take advantage of those boosts because whenever it uses flight, it switches out, and those boosts will get cleared before the attack lands.
The Raw Fury call out.
Yeah, jeez, what a risky play. Trying to bring in the low health port anchor back in. I assume to be able to get a provoke or just to get a faith boost.
I wouldn't know. Well, there's actually a bunch of ways this could work out. Is there? I mean, yeah, just because Raw Fury exists, there's always a chance to outplay the scenario. I would be fine giving a point here.
Yeah.
Either way, the Raw Fury has to hit something. The play has to be interacted with in order to exist. Where is the Raw Fury going? Looks like Raw Fury's heading to the top lane.
Yeah, and I think this is the safer play in case there is a block, and there we see the block. Actually surviving on one stamina, jeez. But the good news is can definitely switch Demolipede back in, but guess we'll have to see what happens here.
There's quite a lot that Ashley could do here. I'm not sure that there's much Ashley will. Oh, the Fruit Folks coming in on the dump. Toy Tanker goes down, but it's a good point to sacrifice, I think.
Yep, I agree. Sometimes it's good to let your opponent score, especially when you're able to give up a Beastie that's low stamina anyways, because this way, at least in 4 turns, Toy Tanker is going to be back to full stamina and able to, contribute back to this match.
Oh, the Protector coming online right as the tired ends. A very good gamble for Ashley here. Unfortunately, both of the power forwards have now hit the field.
Yeah, so this is a interesting scenario. I don't think I've ever seen this happen.
I don't think I've ever seen 2 power forwards on the same field. Harkening back to Dino's words of wisdom, right? There's very rarely any true 50-50s in the game. What?
Yeah.
Neither Beastie can walk up here. Hold on. Neither Beastie can walk up here with the Scream in tow.
Wow. Look at that damage coming out. That Protector boost.
Yeah, Jesus.
It's a big deal. And they actually saw that.
Scream hits Chalupa, and now Cinnaborb can't whistle, or rather has to whistle in order to keep its teammate alive. And just, wow. A very good line spotted from Ash.
Yeah, and I think this is the setup that is going to be very hard to deal with.
Yeah, now our Mantis is kind of useless. It doesn't have any moves to not attack from the front, right?
Yeah, and
no, it doesn't. It only has stare down, and it can't shield or reduce damage. The whistle's gonna have to come out, try to make this play viable. Demolipede, she's very comfortable and happy to sit on that rest for as long as she needs. And in the meantime, I do think this is a very not good position for Pink to find themselves in.
Yeah.
As I say that, Doe's taking down.
Yeah, but you know what? The funny thing is, I think it's actually fine for Demolipede to stay in here, even with the Does.
Yeah, this is true, because the only other threat here is what?
Oh, yeah. Had the move up,
immediately the game flips on its head.
Yeah.
You kind of have to switch out Skifric to set up the next point.
Yeah, and the worst thing is, like, this serve can knock out, so I think this is going to be 2 points in a row. The treat from Fruit Folks coming in to actually give a little bit of heal. But that does stop the point here for the short term, but the problem is in the long term, all of Pink's beasties are low except one of them in the back, that Vagabond. All right, so we see that Calming Aura come out, trying to restore a little bit of stamina here. But yeah, I think this is going to be pretty difficult to be able to stop the offense coming in here. Yeah, we see that Protector boost coming out for Fruit Folks, going to get another boost from the Faith. And we could even see a Provoke here from Tort Anchor. This is like the ideal turn you'd want to see from Ashley. And there's not any defensive plays on the field. Oh, I guess there's Stare Down, but Stare Down is kind of a death sentence. But the question is, like, there's nothing that can switch in. So basically, Pink has to decide which beastie is worth sacrificing here. And that's a good question. You could just say, oh, I want my weakest beastie to wipe. Oh, actually switches in a beastie that was already low, but the problem is now there's still nothing to switch back in. Yeah, this is a rough spot.
That was a really game one looks, unless they've added Torch Chant to the game. It looks like the first game goes to Ashley.
Yeah, there we go. Ashley, man, losing the first point, but then taking 3 points in a row.
Yeah, that's sort of the theory that I mentioned she talks to me about. She has a bunch of statistics and scenarios figured out to where if she's in a disadvantageous position, maybe she can't flip it back immediately, but she knows the proper long-term plays to make so that she can eventually take you over.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Yeah, and that comes back to like kind of the giving up a point or some damage early on to set you up for a good later game state. And I think that again, the situation we found ourselves in with Fruit Folks and Demolipede both sitting in the front and Demolipede getting that double spirit boost from Heart Harden, that was just so hard for Pink to deal with, and just allowed Fruit Folks to get multiple free boosts, again able to doze and get a huge amount of damage spread out on Pink's bench that way.
I know that most people see Fruit Folks as the quintessential support beastie. Because of Ashley, I see Fruit Folks as the most devious false support in the game. This thing can get so out of control if you do not get a handle on it immediately.
Yep.
Now, both of these beasties here, at least one thing looks like it's going to be stared down. Nervous is going to happen anyway. It's just a matter of who receives the ball, and I don't think it's going to be our Mantis.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. I agree. I don't think our Mantis is the target here. Just because I do expect a stare down, which is going to bring it to the front, and you don't really want to trigger its trait.
Stare down goes into both BCs. Is this just going to be the single most cheesiest frontline point in the history of the game?
I mean, look,
the mouse moving from Ash.
Yeah.
No, that's just how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, so this is a fascinating analysis of counter serves or receiving. How do you set yourself up to be the most powerful possible? But Ashley is making the most of it by using Stinky on the server. So now this Vagabond is Stinky, so it has to free ball, which essentially gives
a free turn of momentum. And like I was just saying, Ashley knows how to make the best of a bad scenario. The Stinky's gonna come out onto Chalupa. Best name for an Armantis I've ever seen, by the way.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's pretty viable. Doesn't need to move up because the Tortacre's captain, so I think Stinky is the play here.
And now the volley and the faith coming out.
Yep.
If I'm Varkabond, I really want to leave the field. But if I'm Chalupa, I also want to leave the field. There's probably a couple lines here for each play. Interesting to see that Ashley goes for the top one with Varkabond.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I think Tort Anchor kind of wants to come out on Pink's side just to be able to get rid of some of the boosts, but we actually see the stare down to move forward here. Very aggressive choice here.
Very aggressive play. The twist can come out. It depends on how much damage Chalupa does. It can't do more damage than that, evidently, though.
Yeah, so that's one of the downsides of running Stinky here as opposed to Shield is, yeah, the twist can just lock down a poser here. And so I'm thinking Ashley might want to switch out, but that's not actually what we're going to see. We're actually going to see a block.
It's not possible to switch out because of the Nervous, which is a BT you'd want to get out anyway. But now there's a free, well, not a free provoke if you want to do damage. But I know Ashley is really patient.
Yeah, so
it looks like she's thinking about it.
Yeah, sometimes, free ball is obviously not a good attack, but sometimes that's your best option, especially if you pair it with good support moves. And that you called it. I mean, that's exactly what we're seeing. We're just seeing double provoke free ball, basically saying, okay, I can't do any damage this turn, but I'm at least going to limit your options for next turn. And we actually do see the switch out here. And so I do think this Tort Anchor on Pink's side is kind of important to have out here, specifically just to click patience and deal with this opposer just getting boost after boost.
Yeah, it is going to be a very awkward situation here for Pink. We know that Ashley's capable of playing out those strategies. It's just going to be a matter of what kind of play Ashley wants to make. The provoke coming out, stopping the block.
Yeah.
Taking the hit like a champion, though. Once again, unable to get the provoke and the faith off, kind of locking herself into this play, having to challenge or raw fury something here. It looks like she's going to challenge the opposer. The toy tanker. Nero, please.
No, you're good. I mean, I think this is probably a decent option. That's the thing is, like, you can't provoke and attack. And, if you can't provoke them, then you might as well just, try to do some damage to them. And you don't want to trigger the Armantis' trait by hitting them, because it's not going to knock out anyway with the patience. So I have to say, I think Pink is in a decent position here.
It's very good.
Yeah, I mean, my real question is, this Tort Anchor patience is, again, going to be doing a lot of heavy lifting on defense. But, again, opposer can just switch out.
The spike's coming out here. Does Fruit Folk survive it? Yes, it does.
It does, but it takes heavy damage.
It does. There's no real ways for Tort Anchor to get in a good position here. The idea would be otherwise to switch out into Watchtower and try to get them protector buffs going on. But there's no real way to do that comfortably on this field.
Yeah.
And even then, right now, the it's too much. The Torch Pass, it probably won't come out just because of the provoke. And if they do provoke, they have to free ball. It's a very horrible state of affairs to be in. It looks like Ashley is just going to settle for moving up, trying to do the best with both of what she can. And it free balls into the exact wrong beast.
Yeah, you hate to see that. The timeout, unfortunately, coming into effect. If it was a free ball on the Tort Anchor, then it wouldn't be as big of a deal. But now, all of a sudden, Armantis gets the jazzed boost, and there's going to be a double... Well, actually, I guess that's the silver lining. The provoke going off does make it so Pink's Tort Anchor can't double provoke Ashley's team.
There is a line here that I'm rather interested to see if the enemy will take.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking Demolipede switch is the way to really save the point.
Yeah, Demolipede, yeah. The line I was thinking of is if they predict the Demolipede switch, you could boom into Demolipede.
That's true. That would have been a real Galaxy Brain play for sure. I didn't even think of that, but that would make it so Quake hits the field, all of a sudden you can't volley it to Fruit Folks without wiping them.
Very, very similar to the first game. Ashley very on the back foot right now.
Yeah. But what I think is different this time around, again, Pink was still the first one to score, but Pink's bench is a lot healthier than it was last game.
This is true, yeah.
Yeah, so we do see the block reducing some damage, even though we don't see the patience come out. And yeah, this Armantis, the Armantis isn't getting boosts, and if it's not hit, it's not getting jazz, but it is able to just sit here for free on the front. Be able to shoot off, some powerful spikes.
It can't torch pass!
Oh, that's a big play.
That's a big play. That's a big play. That's negative turn priority for Ashley here, who suddenly cannot chase off the boost.
Yeah, and
she has to work with what she's given here, and there's not much. He spotted it.
Yeah, and this is kind of a big deal. So denying torch pass there basically means Ashley isn't able to both get a heal onto one of the low BCs on the bench, but also self-wipe so Fruit Folks can come back full stamina later. And we're going to see Patience here. So that you can see the damage numbers. These are not real. These are going to get erased by Patience. So there's really not any way to knock out. I assume just hitting the Torn Anchor is still the way to play just to eventually get it off the field. But actually going into the Armantis slot, that's an interesting choice. Still doing good damage, though. So that's the good news. But yeah, I'm not sure. What do you think the play is here from Ashley? Is it just to give up a point?
I do think the play is to give up the point. Somehow switch out into Zephyr and try to put Toy Tanker on the field.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're seeing. We're seeing the switch into Zephyr.
I know Roxy is the cleaner for this team, and I am noticing that aside from, Toy Tanker, this team is not super invested into Spirit Defense.
Yeah, that's a good point. Again, I feel like Torn Anchor is Torn Anchor on the Pink side is really the defensive glue holding the team together against a lot of these boosts. But as soon as it leaves the field, this is kind of similar to game one, whereas all of a sudden Torn Anchor left the field and then Ashley was able to run away with it.
Yeah. Now, there's two things that can happen here. Is that the Patience can just come out and ruin Ashley's boosting potential. I do think that the best play here is the most obvious one of Volley, Faith Captain, Air Blast.
Yeah, I agree. So obviously Patience can come out and get rid of the boost, but this should be enough to get rid of Armantis. Oh, but we actually see the switch in to try to preserve both beasties there. Somewhat, I'm not sure if that would have been enough to knock out Torn Anchor, but honestly, giving Torn Anchor this healing is kind of a big deal. Again, it's going to make it be able to stick around even longer to click Patience.
Yeah, very much so. Torn Anchor having Provoke. There's no real other option that Ashley has other than to try and Cyclone Torn Anchor out, which works!
Yeah, and Pink's Torn Anchor actually using Provoke on Ashley's Torn Anchor, but that does mean that Cyclone's going to be able to force Pink's Torn Anchor out, which means Patience will not be an option, and it's going to be two relatively low beasties on the field because Armantis is the one that's going to come in.
It's going to be very difficult now. Sydney has to take more chip, but this Zephyr already has a Faith boost.
Yep, and
this
it was
Air
not
Blast
cleared.
is hitting almost everything for incredibly effective damage. Nothing can get to the front. It's just a matter of picking which beastie that she thinks is probably going to stay in. The Torch Pass can always come out from the Fruit Folks, try to change this game in their favor, but that's still a wiped beastie on the line. Potentially two. Looking at the board, I would say Torch Passing into Varkabon because the Varkabon did a lot for them.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it doesn't look like... Again, they don't get out unscathed. And the Tornado Ball! She has Tornado Ball. She can stop the setup.
Well, so here's a fascinating setup thing to think about though, because now it depends on what gets switched in. Because if you see the the skiff rig switch in, then that means Toad Anchor is actually the one coming out. That's what we see. So now this Toad Anchor is back on the field, almost full stamina, gonna be able to just, you know, volley, provoke, and then patience.
There is absolutely nothing they can do to get this beastie out of here. The best play against Twist would not be the best play against Trick Spin. It all depends on what Ashley assumes is going to happen. Always good to cover for the Trick Spin. Twist coming out.
We see the move forward from Pink's Toad Anchor. I was not expecting that.
There's something to be said here.
Yeah, so
at the possibilities that lay before Ashley, there's a bunch of them. Really, it's going to be the double provoke again and the free ball. Stop the patience and the provoke from coming out.
yeah,
There's a lot of setups that I'm sure Ashley wants to get to. The main one being Demolipede. Not Demolipede. The main one being with Torch Anchor on the field and Roxy somewhere on it too. Demolipede would work as well. Both of the not Wild Charge, just both of Skiffrig's really good partners. Blah 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 blah.
yeah.
The Maverick ignores the unpredictable as well. Very, very nice.
That's a good point. I didn't
Ashley.
even think about that, but not being nervous at least gives the threat of options. But I'm kind of expecting Cyclone here. I guess I'm not entirely sure, but I'm gonna be honest. I think Ashley's window for winning this game is starting to close because those beasties on Pink's bench are starting to come back. They're gonna be at full stamina again. So we do see Demolipede come out here and is fully healthy, but unfortunately that means we're not going to see an attack this turn because Demolipede does not have an attack itself, and Zephyr is twisted. So we're going to be seeing another free ball here.
Definitely is one of those slower games right now. I know that one of the competitors here definitely welcomes it. It's gonna be an awkward position no matter what happens, as long as that what's his face is on the field. Varkabond, yeah.
Yeah, Varkabond.
Really, the free ball here, because even if Zephyr moves up, they can always just trick spin the back row and sneak a win.
Yeah, well, that's the big difference between Trick Spin and Dump. Is Dump only threatens the front, so you can just sit Demolipede and your partner in the front. But with Trick Spin, you gotta cover both lanes.
Yeah, and it does look like it's going to be a 50-50 right now, between on whether progress gets made or whether nothing happens. Just gonna have to see what's what here.
Yeah, this is a tough position because even if you guess correctly, it's still gonna
Twist coming
possibly
out.
be a downside. Yep.
Horrible situation for Ashley to be in. An unenviable spot at the moment.
Yeah, we're actually just seeing the same thing. Double.
Yeah, it's a
free ball.
losing war of mental attrition.
Yeah, well, it's tough because like getting the provoke is great, but you're not doing any damage, so you're not really making any progress against the enemy team. And again, this Zephyr is really low. Both of the other attackers on Ashley's bench are low. Ashley's definitely running out of options here. Again, the one way to maybe try to come back at this point, again, it's not gonna. I don't think Ashley has enough damage to work through Pink's bench at this point. I think the only possible way to come back is to somehow get back into Fruit Folks and be able to torch pass. But it looks like Ashley is gonna go down in the second game, and Pink actually takes game 2. So we are going on to a game 3.
We have a match, ladies and gentlemen.
We definitely
and
like to see
and
3
things.
games.
I don't judge.
Yeah.
The Tiny Tacos really proving themselves this game.
Yeah, definitely.
That was a really stressful one. If Ashley got one of those pivotal reads right, we could have seen a difference in the match. But it all started with the cheesiest counter serve I've ever seen.
So yeah, I'd love to talk about that counter serve as long as we have time here. Like having Varkabond and Armantis gives a really fascinating, like difficult decision to make, because the problem is if you target Varkabound and they guess correctly, then both of your beasties are stuck on the back line and they're able to get a free point with Trick Spin. But if you try to attack Armantis, then you're just giving it the Jazzed boost and the free attack. So it's like almost a no-win situation. So we do see Demolipede switching in here immediately to make sure Twist doesn't mess with Opposer here. And we're probably going to see the forward pass and then I assume a challenge. I don't think that's going to be enough to one-hit Armantis here because there's no boosts on the field yet. So yeah, that's not going to be enough. So we're going to... I'm curious to see what Ashley decides to do here. Again, as long as Trick Spin is on the field, then they don't really want to stack up with Demolipede. Oh, and we see that basically exact play of the double nervous here, but it's not as bad this time because at least both of Ashley's beasties here are split up. So Trick Spin is not a free point, and the good news is there's not the Jazzed boost on the Armantis here, so we're not. It could possibly be a strong attack, but it's not going to be the end of the world here. So is it going to be Stinky or Block? We actually do see Stinky on the Varkabond. An interesting choice, possibly just to try to deal with any twisted shenanigans. And we do see the Spike coming out here, doing good damage.
Now we're going to see, we have, there's a bunch of, compared to last game, immediately the field is more open for Ashley. There's a lot more freedom right now without a Raw Fury on the board, and specifically without Tortanker. I can't imagine that will last, though. I imagine Challenge will, in fact, come into play very soon. And if it... rather, that Patience will come into play very soon.
Yeah, well...
At Ricochet.
I think it's actually... Yeah. Well, as far as Patience go, the good news is... Opposer does give itself self-boost, but not super fast. And at least both the BCs on the field. Oh.
Raw Fury into the correct slot!
Wow.
My girl is a mad woman!
What a call out. I never would have guessed that in a million years. There's no way I would have made that call.
And now she just has the correct play. Now she has a 100 out of 100 correct play all the time. Move up Demolipede or switch into her tanker. Yeah. She can only gain momentum off of this.
Yeah, so that's the kind of the thing about... so there's no Trick Spin because of the Shook on Varkabon, but also there's only Flight, which only shoots straight ahead. So this Opposer is basically going to be here for free.
Yeah,
so yeah, we see that switch.
Oh my god! She gets the face and the provoke off!
Yep, the dream scenario. And all of a sudden, this challenge is doing a lot of damage. And
this challenge is looking very unstoppable. If she provokes Armantis, there's nothing they can do to stop the big challenge from coming in. She sees it. She has to, because I play with her, and she's very perceptive.
I think just considering the options, but yeah, I have to imagine that's going to be what she chooses. And yeah, now all of a sudden Armantis either needs to move back or switch, but I don't think we're going to see a switch. I think we're going to see either the move back or honestly just giving up a point.
Into Varkabond.
Interesting. Oh. Well, regardless, we do see that first point. Ashley taking the first point, which is something we have not seen this set. So, Ashley off to a very strong start.
The adaptation is coming heavily into play.
Yep. And honestly, Opposer is honestly a pretty good serve, too, because not only, it gives the Angry with the challenge, but it also gives itself a boost. We might see Pink's Tort Anchor switch in here, though, and start, be able to give some defense with those Patience options.
Yeah, there's definitely both teams have shown a lot of their colors here. Very strong generalist sorts of sets. Tortanker's back on the field, but hit by that challenge. And now suddenly, the spike's coming out. It could hit for big damage. Of course it doesn't. This is a Zephyr. This is Ashley's Zephyr we're talking about.
53 is not nothing. It's a decent amount.
This is true.
I think this is kind of a smart switch because, I mean, not only are you protecting a poser here, but you also have the option of Tornado Ball to get this Tort Anchor out of here so you can start boosting again.
This is true.
Oh, but
However, we're going to have the Tornado Ball at Chalupa?
Mantis. Interesting.
Oh, that's genius, because now the power forward is no longer in play. They have no attacks. They're stuck in the same position.
Yeah, and now, like you said, both of Pink's attacking options now are pretty weak in comparison.
Yeah, Boom can't do anything. There's nothing, no single option that Pink can do here to kill Zephyr. That's genius. We weren't even talking about that.
Yeah, that is definitely a really smart play. And I assume we're going to see the block on Tort Anchor here just to stop the Quake, but looks like we're not seeing that. We're seeing the move back.
Moves back just to get that extra bit of life in case the Boom comes into the Roxy slot.
Yeah, and that is what we see.
Which it does. Good call.
Yeah, that is a good call.
Okay. The rhythm comes up. I can only imagine we'll see Volley Faith, and now it's unavoidable. They have to decide. The Air Blast quickly into True Folks' lane. I think it's just because nothing can live there.
Yeah, I don't think anything wants to tag in here. Oh, and we do see that Skipper tries to switch in, but then just immediately gets wiped. So now I assume we're going to see Tornado Ball onto Tort Anchor again, but maybe not. Maybe that's not the play. Again, maybe just valuing trying to keep the attackers off the field instead, and that is what we see. It's going into that slot. Barkabon comes out, but then immediately, switch, and yeah, all of a sudden, Pink is stuck with two beasties on the field that can't do very much damage.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
2-0 of an entirely different Ashley from what we saw in the first set.
Yeah. So I'm curious to hear from you, like, why do you think this game has been so different than the last two?
I think it's just because Ashley really adapts when you give her that sort of time to learn. The provoke coming out again onto the wrong beastie. The patience will not be coming out today. No faith at the least, and no ability to provoke. But it's the same situation as before. No beastie can really come up to take this. Roxy is on her last legs here. The Air Blast does kill our Mantis.
Yeah.
So they have to make a decision once more. Really, it's on Ashley right now, because if they predict that Ashley goes into Foo Folks or Armantis, one beastie will get more over the other. I think the safe call here is always to hit into Armantis, just because they have to lose more tempo like that. Ultimately, she can lose out on the Zephyr by now if they decide to punish it with a Parkabon switch.
Yeah,
we'll see what she does.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Even if Parkabon does switch in here, which it doesn't.
That's the game!
There we go.
Solid 3-0 from AshleyETA, my goat.